Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is post-match reaction show time after Liverpool have finally got a win on the road in the Champions League group stage. It's been 2 years since we last got an away win at this stage of the competition. Obviously, we had a few wobbles in the group stage last season and we didn't manage to get a result against Napoli in the first match day of this campaign, but we've finally managed to put that slight, not anomaly, but slightly weird stat in terms of our form in the competition to bed. Obviously, as we know, Liverpool are European champions, so it's not like they have a huge problem in terms of how they approach these games, but it was something that was a little bit was made of it going into the kickoff, and I think this was very much seen as the game where Liverpool could put that slightly strange freak statistic behind them and prove that they didn't really have any issues when it came to playing on the road in Europe. And I think, obviously, the scoreline looks fantastic. But in terms of the performance, it is ever so slightly flattering. I thought going forward, at times we looked good and at other times we looked ever so slightly stagnant. We definitely seemed to play in bursts. You know, there were moments where we were creating a lot of chances. I think certainly in the first half, we probably should have been more than 1-0 up given the chances we created. There's obviously that one where Roberto Firmino plays that gorgeous 1-2 with Sadio Mane. Mane gives it to him and he just plays that little, what is it, I guess a Rabona that goes through the defence. Not, you know, if that had just been a Rabona pass on its own, it would have been gorgeous. If it had just been a standard pass on its own that's completely split the defence and put Sadio Mane through, it was gorgeous. The fact it was both was absolutely unbelievable. And I saw a fascinating stat which said that last season he created 9 clear-cut chances throughout the entire season. You know, a whole year, that's how many he got. This season already, he's created 11. That was the 11th clear-cut chance he created, which just goes to show that I think Roberto Firmino's role has changed ever so slightly in this Liverpool side. In terms of him acting the provider, he has been absolutely fantastic so far this season. You know, the skills that he's been able to pull off, the space he's created, and also the way he's set up his teammates has been brilliant. We know he's got that ability, but it seems a little more emphasis has been placed on it this campaign as opposed to obviously the previous one where he didn't even create as many clear-cut chances than he has done already, and we're only about 2 months in to this current season. So yeah, that was obviously beautiful, and I think we had many chances, well not many, but a fair few chances in the first half that were like that we really should have finished off, and we should have probably gone in with a slightly bigger margin than 1-0. But obviously on the flip side, Genk could have got some goals as well. I mean, when you look at the shot statistics, it doesn't look maybe as even as it maybe looked at the outlook. I think we expect fantastic things at Liverpool and we expect them to dominate, and by dominate we expect them to just have 80% possession. The opposition doesn't even have a shot, and it's almost an inevitability that wins the game. And it feels like any time an opposition side is able to create more than just a couple of long shots that have no hope of going in, if they create any chances in the box, suddenly it's seen that they're actually taking the game to Liverpool and the match is even. Whereas actually, when you look at it, on the balance of things, Liverpool have been so much better, created more chances, and normally, by and large, deserve to win the game. But I thought Genk certainly gave it a go and caused our defence a fair few problems in that first half. We did just look ever so slightly ropey. Lovren never really looked, you know, on the pace in this game. I think Andrew Robertson looked ever so slightly leggy. Jurgen Klopp was absolutely right to substitute the fella off before, I think, even the hour mark. It's about 55 minutes in when Joe Gomez came on. Obviously, all the players played in the game on Sunday, so there was a very short turnaround in this game, and Andrew Robertson is a player who does not tend to get a rest, so I think that was definitely the right decision to take him off and bring Joe Gomez on. He did look slightly ropey in the first half, and just, you can tell that the defence wasn't playing very well because of just how much Virgil van Dijk was being forced to do. It was one of those games where we're reminded just how good he is because he actually has to get involved in the action. He has to break into sprints. He has to use his strength to knock strikers off and stuff like that. And he has to get himself out of danger with his absolutely fantastic composure and control of the ball in difficult, high-pressure situations. So Van Dijk was brilliant and got us out of a fair few bits of danger. Fabinho as well was absolutely fantastic. I think he was, obviously a lot was being demanded of him because of the way we lined up in midfield, and there was a lot of talk about the way Liverpool lined up. Obviously, we all want to see Keita get games. We want to see Oxlade-Chamberlain get games. So I think everyone was excited by the idea of them both playing at the same time, and obviously both of them are great going forward. They've got so much to offer in terms of linking up with the front three. So I think everyone was expecting us to just blow Genk away with just how beautiful and free-flowing the attack would be. But I think the trade-off there, and it was something that I kind of expected going into the game, was that we might have a little bit of trouble trying to win that midfield battle on the defensive side. And yes, going forward we were beautiful and we had so many more options than we did at Old Trafford on Sunday, and that did look great. But I think if we had anyone other than Fabinho in defensive midfield, we may have ended up in a lot of trouble today. And I think it's just fantastic that we have a player like him to bail us out in these kind of situations. I think what we learnt today was that the Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita and Fabinho midfield looks great. and there are definitely times we can play it because, like I said, Fabinho's good enough to compensate for the space that those two leave. I'm not sure it's something we can have as a first choice midfield on a regular basis because at some points it's going to get found out. You know, teams will create overloads in that area around Fabinho so that he simply cannot deal with the amount of players and the amount of pressure being put on him. And as a result, we will get problems caused against us. So, you know, I did think on an attacking side it was great. Obviously, Oxlade-Chamberlain gets 2 beautiful goals. I mean, the space he finds himself in is absolutely criminal for the first one. I'm not sure what Genk are doing, and he just pile drives it into the bottom corner, which was lovely. Then the second goal, man. I mean, every single part of the move, the ball from Keita into the box, the control from Firmino to take it down, then lay it off to Ox, and then that finish, man. I mean, the dink going in off the bar as well. He puts virtually no power on it. He just relies on how pinpoint accurate the placement is going to be, and it was perfect. It was a beautiful goal, and it's fantastic for Liverpool to have a goal-scoring midfielder because we are going to have days where the front three are ever so slightly off it. You know, normally one of them is good enough or one of them has their quality shines through, and I think we saw that at the end of the game, certainly with Mo Salah, who was a bit iffy all the way through the game. You know, it never felt like it was going for him. He obviously gets the assist for Sadio Mane as well. That was a beautiful goal. Sadio Mane, I felt, was on the periphery for a lot of the game, but then pops up with a gorgeous finish. I, for one, thought that the goalie had closed him down. There was no way he was going to get the shot off. The goalie was probably just going to sweep up, but Mane managed to just get enough dink on it to take it over the goalie, so that was fantastic. You know, I was surprised to actually see it hit the net because, like I said, I didn't expect him to even be able to get the shot off. So Salah, yeah, very, very quiet, and yet plays the ball for Sadio Mane, and then his goal is just sublime as well. So that's obviously great that our front three can all do that. They can get these goals even when they're not playing well, and they can get assists when they're not playing well as well. But it's very, very important to have someone a bit deeper on the pitch who you can rely on as well, because then you become a much more different prospect, you know, and it helps the front three out as well. Now, if we have Oxlade-Chamberlain playing in midfield, defenders suddenly have an issue to face where they're sort of thinking, well, do we do the whole thing that a lot of teams have been doing so far this season of doubling up and even tripling up on some of our attackers? It happens to Mo Salah all the time. By and large, he has 3 defenders dealing with him at any given time. So I think now, with that kind of extra question of, well, do you follow Mohamed Salah or do you close down Oxlade-Chamberlain to prevent those long shots that he is absolutely fantastic at? It just creates an extra dimension, and it will help Ox get goals, and it will hopefully help out the front three as well in terms of creating space for them. And as we know, Ox is very, very good at getting assists as well. In that his debut season, when he was fit for pretty much all of it, he actually, I think he set Mohamed Salah up 5 times or something like that for goals, which is absolutely fantastic when you consider the amount of game time he got in and the fact that he only really started to get runs in the side around about November, December, January kind of time. So I think it's just fantastic to see Keita Ox back in a shirt. Speaking of Keita as well, I thought he was brilliant. You know, everything we've come to expect from Naby Keita. It's a shame he doesn't get a goal, or I don't think he gets an assist either to show for it. But I thought by and large his play was excellent. You know, the way that he closes people down. I'd criticise the fact that we didn't have many bodies back for counter-attacks and stuff like that. But in terms of defending from the front, Keita was excellent. Just in terms of closing players down constantly, always being there. If anyone has a heavy touch or if there's a slightly loose pass or they don't put enough power on the ball to find their man, Naby Keita was just always there, flying in, and if he doesn't win the ball, he puts enough pressure on that he forces the opposition into mistakes as well, or creates the time where someone else can fly in and help with the press and stuff like that. So I think there's obviously a little bit of fine-tuning there needed in terms of knowing when to press, because obviously what's fantastic about the Jurgen Klopp gegenpress system is that it's not just about aimlessly following the ball and players just chasing it down at any given opportunity. It is about knowing when to chase it down, when those pressing triggers are, so that you can create overloads that do lead to attacks, that do lead to goals. As Jurgen Klopp has said, pressing is the greatest playmaker you can ever have. And if Naby Keita, with all this natural raw talent in terms of knowing when to close players down, if he can then tune into what all the other players on the pitch are doing, then we could be absolutely deadly going forward with him in the side, especially against teams like Manchester City, who we are, of course, playing in a week and a half's time. Or not a week and a half's time, 2.5 weeks' time. I was thinking that is a bit soon, that is. That's enough time, I think, for Keita to maybe bed into the side. You know, I don't know whether he maybe gets the start against Man City. That will probably go to Oxlade-Chamberlain, who does have a good history against them, and like I said, was brilliant today as well. But there's certainly food for thought there. He does feel like the kind of player who could be very, very useful in the big games in terms of pressing and linking up with the attack. So yeah, all things considered, consider going forward, it was very, very nice. Like I said, Mane and Salah, two players that were on the periphery for most of the game, but both of them get goals. Both of them, you know, showed up when it counted. So that is, of course, absolutely fantastic. And then the defence was slightly iffy. You know, Dejan Lovren has to get his Dejan Lovren moment in at the end, which is a bit of a shame because it would have been nice to come away with a clean sheet. You know, 4-0 looks a lot nicer than 4-1. That very much does look like Liverpool have just wiped the floor with Genk. But at the end of the day, 3 points is all that matters. I cannot remember for the life of me what happened in the other games, so I'll check that after this video has ended. But all we can think about at the moment is Liverpool. Obviously, we've laid down a marker with Genk there. Hopefully, we'll be able to do the business against them at Anfield in the return leg. And by that point, we should maybe, but not quite, have at least 1 foot in the knockout stages of the Champions League. So yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, as always, you know what to do. Hit the like button down there. Hit that subscribe button there if you're around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter. And I'll be back soon, hopefully with some pre-match content for the game against Spurs. Until then, bye for now.